you might see a yacht concept that looks a bit different or crazy and think, what's the point of this? This is just a cool design, but it's impossible to build. What I see when I see a yacht concept that looks a bit different is this: innovation. After all, what's the point of designing the same looking yachts over and over again? Don't you want to see something a little bit different? Don't you like the idea of challenging the perceptions of what a super yacht can look like? This is exactly what I thought when I saw the 101-metre concept project Lily, which comes from the drawing boards of Oceanco, Vripack and Lateral Naval Architects.
With Project Lily, we actually looked at something which is buildable today, but is quite innovative. We don't want to have something gimmicky.
We have to start somewhere, and I believe that this is absolute right beginning.
Anything new obviously always comes with somebody who says or thinks or wants to say no, because we haven't seen it before.
Now, as you can probably tell, the name of this yacht is inspired by the petals of a lily, and it's pretty much as groundbreaking as you can get. You'll see there are almost no decks around the vessel like you'd usually get. You have an asymmetric design, and you're missing something quite crucial: a traditional bridge. So without a proper bridge, how are you going to drive the boat? To better understand, I headed to Oceanco's office in Monaco to find out how this works.
We at Oceanco, first of all, we realized that we're living in a period of change. And that period, of course, requires also meaningful innovation. And we looked at things and the assumptions that we had and how we can challenge them. And that is from looking at how we live to actually the reasons of actually wanting to own a boat. Because I think one of the big challenges at the moment is how are we going to span the energy transition period? And that means, of course, we would like to help the client not to make a decision right now on what the future fuel will be, but how can we transition this period by mitigating the risk and now allowing the yacht to evolve and keeping his yacht future-proof. So those are the basic elements that were the foundation of Lily. At the backbone of this is an electrical architecture. So even now you can have a few hours, fuel emission-free cruising or emission-free operations. Think about getting out of a port or being anchored and using your hotel load. And that of course increases not only efficiency but also comfort. Think about the vibrations, think about the noise. So that means looking at how we using spaces, how we're living on board, and that probably means that we won't be using 2 formal dining areas, 3 formal saloons. So indeed, we're looking at a space which is very multifunctional, very open, actually quite inclusive. Doesn't mean that we need to cramp the yacht, with as many people as possible. And I think this was also the heart of the design.
Tell me, what was the process like with Lateral and Vripack to get to this point of being able to say, yes, if the client comes, we can build this tomorrow?
Well, a lot of clients don't want to be guinea pigs. And that's why we also don't show designs which are not buildable right now, because otherwise you only detract from the experience. Imagine you show something to a client and he comes back and he's very energized and interested, and then you have to start from a point of saying, unfortunately, this is not possible, or we don't have the technology available. That doesn't add to the yachting experience. And that's why we use the time, we use the naval architecture experience from Lateral, we use our own engineering in-house because it's also constructional question marks that we need to look into. And then, of course, the overall design. So yes, it is buildable today, and that's really the grain of Oceanco. For example, also the bridge, it's very untraditional. It doesn't have a prime location on the boat, let's put it that way, because the prime location has been given to the owner as a fully private estate and private deck. And it's a bit lower down on the yacht. Still a very important core position of the yacht, because we know that is the heart of the yacht, to be able to navigate and cruise around the world. And of course, safety always is, number one.
Absolutely. So the bridge, you can kind of see out to the side, but you can't see forward or back.
Yeah,
Is that right?
I mean, you can, but not in a traditional way.
Okay.
So of course you have your sonars, of course you have your cameras, of course you have your screens, but you want to have that physical, contact with the outside world. You have both sides that allow for that access.
Very different.
Very different.
Groundbreaking.
Innovative. Of course, you have large windows that we're all accustomed to, and of course, it's also a demand going forward, or at least a trend going forward. But it's a one-way film, so you can look outside, but you also have your ultimate privacy.
That's the innovation again, I guess.
The innovation again, yeah. And of course, what you'll see eventually happening is this is a showcase, and it's a great talking piece, and then a showcase of what we can do. And then you have clients who look at the overall yacht and probably dive into certain elements that they really enjoy. And then probably we restart again, or we evolve from this project.
But if the client came and they wanted to build Project Lily, but they wanted some changes, like they wanted, for example, a smaller platform, or they wanted a more traditional helipad that's visible on the bow, that's something you would integrate?
That's actually our starting point. We don't expect the client to say, I want it as is, but really start from this, because the philosophy is there, the DNA is there of the project, and then really customize it to his and his family's wishes. May that be smaller, larger, a bit different. At the end of the day, it's the industry that matters. We need to evolve and move forward as an industry. It's not an Oceanco item on its own, because we have to come up with solutions and which are appealing, to future generations, in order not to lose engagement. We see the owner as young, as in young-minded, visionary, wanting to have an evolution in yachting. For sure, ambitious, and then, wanting to do things different.
Our guests are committed and ambitious buyer. So what does that buyer look like?
An ideal buyer for a project of this one will be, in my opinion, someone who perhaps has never been on a boat before. It's such of an innovative, creative vessels, which I would think that we will probably see a new breed of potential owner who will want to have a piece of art before eventually having a floating device, so to say. As Frasers, we believe that it's a project that we absolutely need to put our eyes and our attention into, because it is a direction which is definitively where we believe the clients are going to go to. The new breed of clienteles, the new generations of clients are going to go to something a bit different, and more a project obviously that is in a way, because that project is developed with clean energies, and it's obviously engineered to consume less energies to work. But not only, it's also on the way the overall layout of the vessel is developed and made, that we thought that it will be the right project to present to this new generation of clients that we are eager to find new projects for. But that is where we want to go, we want to be. We are absolutely willing to follow these new directions of let's think properly out of the box, not by just building eventually an expedition vessel or boat with asymmetry. It englobes everything from the asymmetry to the innovations to the clean energy. But we have to start somewhere, and I believe that this is absolute right beginning. Everything is to be hidden here. Even the cleats, you don't see the way, because this vessel will be moored to a dock at some stage. And I ask Marnix, where are your cleats? How do you actually throw the line on that vessel? But obviously it's all very well hidden, and this is what makes it so attractive, that you see nothing, and then the boat arrives to the harbor, and suddenly some shutters opens, and then everything starts to play.
I had a question about that as well. I mean, the tender operations, do you know roughly how that's going to work?
Yeah, but it's on the front. You could actually, at this very moment, you can still decide where you want to have your launches located. It could be on the aft, could be on the front. But the obvious will be the cleats, the system. At the end of the day, we still have to, when we go to harbor, to use the vessels in a more traditional way, which leads into another discussion is when we go into that sort of concept, port harbors would have to also be creative, to propose alternative and more innovative ways to moor vessels of that caliber. And that opens a lot of possibilities.
You're really, blazing a trail here.
Oh, yeah. This is why we're here. We love it. it's hard not to like it. You may have you may challenge some of the areas of the vessels, but at the end of the day, the flow where you do not see, it's seamless, you see nothing. And that is so unique. All the other yachts, you will see the hull, the superstructures, and you see the windows, and then you see the bridge. And from any kind of designs, they will always be pretty much the same. This is absolutely different.
Design, as I mentioned, is by Vripack, which is headed up by Bart M. Bauhaus and Marnix J. Hoekstra, and they are based in Snake in the Netherlands. So where better to go but to Vripack's studio to truly understand how this yacht came to life.
Welcome in Snake. I'm happy you want to see Project Lily.
So Marnix, you are the last piece of a very important puzzle. Can you tell me a little bit about Project Lily and how this design came about?
Yeah, sure. I mean, she in the end became a 101 meter motor yacht, but the whole inspiration is coming from nature, and how a lily, actually a water lily particularly, rises up from the water level and then opens its petals during the day and closes it in the evening. That's the center of this design. So I was really thinking about the arrival on board of these kind of pretty large boats. And typically when you arrive on these boats, they're majestic and big, and you have stairs going up, and it's kind of intimidating nearly to come on board. It's like, oh, am I allowed here? Even if you're welcomed. So I wanted this to be like really open. When you're on board, you see throughout the whole yacht. So when you're on board of this imaginary 35-year-old Californian surf dude's boat, you feel comfortable, immediately comfortable.
Something that I noticed in all of the, or not all of the, but some of the Vripack designs is that you've got a bit of a sailing yacht inspiration in some of the exterior. Is that right?
Shear is important. So shear, so this line from the bow all the way to the back, and how that runs and which tension this line has, it's super important. In the back we have this completely open, like the lily flower, right? Open petals. And I also didn't want these petals to touch each other, because that's what they don't do on a flower, right? So flowers are connected in the heart of the flower, but for the rest they're all separate. So what I really thought of in the beginning was this kind of double C-section curve, where we have the boat running up and down, and then the sides of the boat close and the top close as well, but they don't touch in the middle. And that's structurally impossible, because it will break, it will fall apart. But then, thinking about my early sailing boats, we used to have monocoque structures. And a monocoque structure is where the hull and the superstructure actually are of one piece. There's no interruption. So on motor yachts, you have like this wedding cake staggered thing. There's a separation between the deck and the superstructure, etc. But in racing sailing boats, you don't have that. It's a so-called monocoque structure.
So this part is kind of holding together the back part.
Exactly. Well said. That's it.
Okay, very nice.
So here we have a big water sports store. So you immediately are drawn by the water sports store. I mean, surfboards, kiteboards, scuba diving. You all pick this up in this fully glass enclosed feature, which is very much, I mean, the game of the day, right? This is a big hotel on the water, and you want to get out on the water to enjoy the sea and the land, etc. Do you stay on the boat? There's a massive wellness right here. Sauna, hammam. Two-person massage, often forgotten. I mean, how beautiful is that you can have that you join each other on that instead of a solo action. It's a two-person action, and obviously a gym. And passing by that, you come into the more common area, which traditionally you would say dining. There's a massive, big sports bar on port side, and a large dining here on starboard. Actually, only one of the two dinings on the boat. So I also have maybe a personal thing with having a boat with 4 decks, and then I have 4 dinings. I mean, how often do I sit at the same? Anyway, that's maybe enough for another day. And with that, I wanted to give this a big gesture. So I removed all the decks on top of this, which you typically have. And then you get into the play of the split level. So on top of this is actually only half a deck. So when you sit on the dining table, you have a full view, 3 decks up, to where I placed the kids' play pot. So I wanted to really give a cool area for kids to play games or just have fun. So I imagined on top of this big thing, I think it's in total 8 meters above the floor, with a suspension bridge. From the cinema, you can walk there, and that's it's safe, it's fully closed glass, so nobody can fall out. But I mean, that's a fully private thing, which just hangs there as a big orbit structure on top of the dining table. Some of the rooms are interconnectable, and then ultimately, what I think is cool about the vessel is that it has a secret passageway from down to top for the crew to surface this. So the crew can have a secret passageway, come in, surface the whole rooms, and then go out. Because as you have no bulkheads here, otherwise, yeah, you would have to come with your laundry through the main dining. That's not very chic. So it's really the concept of the front of the house, like a boutique hotel, and the back of the house, which we applied to the boat. And that's all merging together.
Okay, so you've got this like massive glass atrium that runs through multiple decks, a hanging children's playroom, they just hang there, and that's accessed by a bridge from a cinema. Okay, ambitious.
Yeah, feasible. Why? I mean, why not? When we're building a concept like when I'm building a concept like that. Yeah.
I mean, you got to push the boundaries. You got to say, let's try it. Let's see what's possible. And
yeah, like I said, I mean, how many more dining tables would you need to have dinner? I think this is a use of space which is different, experience which will be totally different on board, other than having stacked decks all throughout. So the owner is all the way on top. So once we've passed all these decks, we can, let's say, take the elevator up. We enter into the owner's apartment right up here. Let me do this paper like here. And there's a glass elevator emerging from a lily pond. And then over stepping stones, you're entering this whole owner's deck apartment. So this whole upper deck, it's completely private.
So a water feature, like quite shallow water though, we're talking about.
Yeah, lilies. I think lilies grow in 3 foot of water or something like that.
Okay, wow. Yeah. That's really creative. I've never heard of that before on a boat. Yeah.
I mean, she's called Lily, so we must honor that a little bit. So it's a semi-virtual bridge, right? So the sides can open up. You can be outside. I think it's quite important that you see the elements, because you could technically be probably in a completely virtual bridge, but then you miss the feeling of a wave or if the wind picks up or not. But then on the other hand, screens and videos and cameras are so a common practice these days that looking to the front or to the rear, you look into screens, but you'll get projections obviously of what's out in the front or what's out in the back.
There isn't much traditional exterior space, and I think that's something that you talked about, is this idea of people who maybe want to be a bit sheltered from the elements, people who don't want to be always directly in the sun. Obviously, you've got what you call, I think, privacy foil in the windows. So there's lots of glass, lots of connection to the sea, but not much outdoor space, as you might expect.
No. What we hear a lot is that particularly the younger clients, they respect they're out on the sea already. They've been surfing all day, they've been kiteboarding all day. You've been out on the sea a lot already, exposed to the sun, to the radiation, to a lot of elements. So a lot of times we hear like, get me more coverage, because once I'm on board and I may be, undressing myself from all the swimsuits, etc., I don't need to be in the sun anymore. I had enough, solar exposure. Scaling it is looking very much to the proportion of it. So this is a very proportional design. However, arguably, if you look at it from a distance, that could be a 40-foot tender, right? It just will have that less decks. So scaling it will mean you'll need to design the right brief on what is my need inside of the boat, and based on that we can scale it. We didn't set out, by the way, to design a 101 meter. We set out to design this shape, and then later on we said to each other, okay, how long is this shape actually? Honestly, it was 100 meter, but I said no, we can't have 100. We'll make it 101.
So there you have it. A new way to navigate, a groundbreaking new future fuel system, and a yacht that looks more like a work of art than a vessel. Let me know in the comments what you think about Project Lily, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for future videos. What's there's some kind of, on the coach roof, some kind of like a material.
On the coach roof. Yeah, I can't see what you're looking at now. Sorry about that.
It's like, no, you can't see, so you don't know.
Is it the main coach roof or the?
I don't know the difference. No, yeah, the second, the one that's further forward.